Hi, I'm Victoria and welcome back to my crime and policing channel. In today's session, we're going to be looking at criminology. Woohoo! What's that, here you ask? Well, criminology is the scientific study of crime, criminals and criminality. We have been looking at forensic science, which is obviously a stream of, criminology, but now we're going to look at the who's, where's, what's and why's. We're going to look at why people are doing this stuff, or at least why we think they might be doing those stuff. There's a lot of theories, a lot of theorists. Does anybody really know? Not really. We can't get inside everyone's brains, can we? But we can have a good old guess, and that's what theorists do. I've got some books in my hand because, as you know, I love reading. Well, kind of like essay journals, really. And just to recommend, basically, if you are studying criminology, you can get like a student membership into the BSc, which is the British Society of Criminologists. I am a member as I teach criminology, and they're really, really interesting books. You've got here, the policing of cuckooing in county lines, drug dealing. So things that you might find interesting, cybercrime, right? All these things that you might find interesting are in these books, and it's super helpful if you are studying crime. Obviously as well, I have my history books because I love to know what people really thought back then. They can flower it up as much as they want, saying they're free thinkers. You wrote it down, dude. That stinks. You wrote it down. I do love the smell of an old book, but actually it's quite nice. Anyway, I'm going off on one. In this video, we're going to be looking at criminology. And as I mentioned, that's a scientific study of crime and criminals. Why? Why do people do stuff? Is it rational choice? Is it nature? Is it nurture? Is someone telling you to do something? Have you been forced to do it? This is what we're going to find out. We're going to cover lots of different theories. We're going to start, however, looking at the demonological theories of crime. And only quickly, because I want to move on to the Age of Enlightenment. I'm just kind of using the demon stuff because it feeds into the Age of Enlightenment. So prior to that kind of free thinking in the Age of Enlightenment, have I said that enough? People kind of thought that the God and devil, good and evil, made people act how they did. That human beings were just vessels for those with more power than they had. Right? So when you look at like the witch trials and stuff in the 1600s, people thought the devil was in that person. The devil makes people do stuff. So if you're bad, it's okay. It's not your fault. It is the devil that is inside you. So there you go. Really? No. Yes, people actually genuinely thought it was good versus evil. Now we know, or we think, that's not the case. I mean, I'm not saying we think that. Maybe there is good and evil. I don't know. Wasps and bees, right? Anyway, so let's start with our Age of Enlightenment. And there are three main theorists I want to cover in our series because, there's lots and lots of people. There are three key people, I think, in the Age of Enlightenment are Cesare Beccaria, Jeremy Bentham and Immanuel Kant. We're going to start with Beccaria. I'm going to read his name properly because I don't want to offend anybody. Cesare de Beccaria. I apologise if I pronounce that wrong. I am not Italian. Beccaria was born in 1738 and lived until 1794, so not a very good innings, but it was in the olden days. People had a lower life expectancy and stuff like that. So back in the Age of Enlightenment, cast yourself all the way back and imagine you are there in the 1700s and somethings. Everyone's, got these dusty wigs on, predominantly white, making all decisions about everybody else. And most of them have got lots of money. It's kind of how it goes. The people who make the decisions are the ones with all the money. How is that fair, guys? How is that fair? It's not, just saying. Anyway, so thankfully, Cesare Beccaria was one of the greatest minds of the Age of Enlightenment, and the stuff he wrote was way ahead of its time. But it wasn't all smooth sailing for Beccaria. He had a cack time at school. Apparently his moods were up and down. He was a bit naughty. He did have some friends, which is always good, right? Pietro and Alessandro Verri, and they were some brothers that he made the Academy of Fists with, which is like a society of like, they were like against like, like the economy and bureaucracy and stuff like that. They were like, yeah, we're going to do this. We are going to make a change, guys. And it was in this time, in the Academy of Fists, that Beccaria wrote an essay called On Crimes and Punishments. Now then, this essay on crimes and punishments was a bit of a groundbreaker. And he was so worried that the stuff he wrote in there was going to bite him on the buttocks on the bottom that he actually released it anonymously. He's like, I don't want my name on that because Oh, heads will roll, mine, no thanks. But don't worry about it. Honestly, Cesare, it goes down swimmingly. So it was so good, in fact, that Catherine the Great was like, this is a great read. My word in there. And it was so good that in America, they used it, the US Constitution and Bill of Rights. They thought, this is a good essay, guys. This dude is onto something. And the things he were onto, it weren't God and the devil and witches making people do stuff. Oh no. There were three main things that he focused on. That was free will, rational choice, and manipulability. It's really difficult to say these things with a brace in. So, free will then, what does that actually mean? So, Beccaria thought that when people had the free will, it meant they had a choice whether they were committing those crimes or not. So, rationality, so if someone's got the rational choice, they're committing that crime because they want to. They're weighing up the pros and cons, and they're making a rational choice to commit that crime. And then the same with manipulability, that's where judging, like, you know, pros and cons and looking at the punishment of the crime, they can be coerced into not doing it. They can be kind of persuaded, you know what, it's not worth it. Let's have a think about this. Let's say your next door neighbour, Pam, I don't know, my next door neighbour's not called Pam. Let's say your next door neighbour, Pam, made a really nice pie. Like, Pam's pie was the best pie in the world, right? So Pam's made this pie. You look at it and you think, I kind of want that pie, I'm kind of hungry. And I might not get caught here. You've got the free will to make the choice to eat that pie, right? No one's going, eat the pie. God's not going, eat the pie, human, or anything like that. And you've got the choice, haven't you? Pros and cons, let's have a look. We're making a rational choice here. If I eat that pie, I probably won't get caught. No one's really looking. And then we'll look at the manipulability side of stuff. You think, well, actually, the law says the penalty for stealing a pie is life imprisonment and you get in a cell with a box full of angry bees. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, it's just not for me. It's not worth it. Eating that pie is not worth it, no matter how good Pam's pie is. That's kind of about what it means. Hope that makes sense. So yeah, this essay was way ahead of its time. And not only was it looking at this free will and rational choice and manipulability, also looking at protecting the rights of criminals as well as victims, which was completely out of this world for that moment in time. So, Cesare Beccaria, you were a legend, and you continue to be a legend because we're talking about you right now. So, he also laid out in the Crime and Punishments people's roles in courts and what they could do to help the criminal justice system. So, like I said, very ahead of his time, very, very good. Thank you, Beccaria, for all your hard work. Sorry you're dead. Thanks a lot for your legacy. And that is our very quick intro to criminology, looking at the Age of Enlightenment, Part 1, Cesare Beccaria.